Hi everyone, Edna Kimball, Edna Sells, and welcome to today's episode where we have Sam Bradshaw. Sam, welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, we're so excited that you're here.
Appreciate it.
Now, you are the founding father or the founder of the men's shelter here in Tahlequah.
Yeah, I'm one of the co-founders.
Co-founders,
There's
okay.
a couple of us that started the Tahlequah Men's Shelter back in 2006, 2007.
Oh, that long.
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure how long. And just before the camera started rolling, you were mentioning that you've got some outreach programs that are going to be coming up this fall. But give us just kind of the rundown of what the men's shelter does for the community.
Okay, so the Tahlequah Men's Shelter started around 2007, and we primarily provide housing for the homeless men in Tahlequah that are willing to come in and live in the shelter. And it's kind of a communal living. We only have the capacity for about 12 men right now. Mm-hmm. It stays full most of the time. As soon as I have a vacancy, there's another one ready. So at the shelter right now, we've gone through different, we've grown over the years. Presently right now, so a new person comes in, we do an intake on them, we do a background check to make sure that there's not any major outstanding law enforcement issues.
Okay.
We do a comprehensive assessment, a biopsychosocial assessment, where we determine what's going on with them. And I have a case manager there that does that. We create them a action plan of getting their basic needs met. A lot of times the unhoused men in the area need a lot of different things. Sometimes they don't have a driver's license and they don't have an ID. They don't have any food. They don't have their social security card, and so our social worker or case manager will work with them and helping them get those basic things.
Because you can't get a job to get a house if you don't have a driver's license or social security card.
Correct. And so, you just got to start there many times, and just a lot of times the men have been living in the streets or wherever their situation be, and for a while, for a couple of weeks, they just need some rest, some downtime. And so we don't just you're in and then you need to get out and go find a job. We kind of provide them, some love, if you will, and give them some time to get rested and deal with the fatigue, get good nutrition, and then we work slowly with them and help them develop a plan. The long-term goal is, of course, to always help them become have permanent housing and be a productive citizen in the community. But there's a lot of challenges that they may face, and it takes a while. So we get them stabilized, and then we start working with them. Every one of them has a different plan. Not everyone's the same. Some may just be in between jobs, or may be temporary unhoused, and so there's different levels of where we meet them. So we just kind of meet them where they are, is the best way to put it. Is we meet them where they are, and based upon that assessment, we create them a plan of action to get them up and get them going again.
Okay. So someone would come to your facility and you do a biomedical?
That's called it's a social work term. It's a biopsychosocial assessment.
Okay, so you just kind of see, are there any health issues that you need to address?
Yeah.
What is their background?
Yeah.
Make sure that they're safe for the other
right.
tenants or people staying there, and then see, maybe mentally if there's something that they're struggling with.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well that makes sense. You've got to know what is happening that got them there, maybe.
Absolutely. Yeah. So they all come in with different issues, and so we just try to find that out.
Okay.
Dig down and find that out, whatever they're willing to, reveal to us at that time. And a lot of times they're not very open, and that's why we kind of have a couple of weeks acclimation period to just kind of get them stabilized. And, then we work with them, build a rapport with them, and get them to at a higher level of readiness to change.
Okay. And Sim, how did you get into this? What is your background that
Yeah.
caused you to become a co-founder?
You know, I get asked that a lot. You know, I don't never really know how to answer that. I've just done it for a long time. I was in the Marine Corps, and I was stationed in Yuma, Arizona, and my job at the time was we would have these company field trips where we'd go out into the community, set up in the park, and we'd have a barbecue and everything for the Marines. And I was working on setting that up one time in a park in Yuma, Arizona, and there was a river going along there. The Colorado River goes through there, and so I'm out there like 9 o'clock in the morning, and all these men started coming up out of that riverbed, and it was Marine veterans from Vietnam and other wars that were unhoused, and they were living in that riverbed. And so I began to talk to them, like, what's going on? What, like, because at one time they were just like me in the Marine Corps, and
Very skilled, very educated, yeah.
correct. And so I just became really curious, and what happened to them, and why are they living in that riverbed, and like, how did you get here? And I thought, well, how could I help that? What can I help my fellow Marine with, because we're taught to take care of each other in the Marine Corps, and so rather active duty or not active, so they're like, we have a brotherhood, and so we're like my brothers, and so I just began to kind of think about that, and it used to trouble me, like why they were in that situation. So I started with that. I think that's where it originally started. What inside me made me do that, I don't know. Probably being brought up in a family of 5, and we all took care of each other, or family of 7, so I don't know.
And you came back to Tahlequah to do it here. I love that.
Yeah, then I once I got out of the Marine Corps, I lived in San Diego, California, and there they have a high homeless population. In San Diego, LA, Santa Barbara. And so I just started volunteering there, and I would volunteer in the missions and things down there. And so I began to think about the homeless, and saw it as this huge societal problem that we're not addressing very well, And so I'm always curious of why that is, and what's going on in humanity that we have this issue, and what is it as humans, what can we do to help out our fellow humans? So,
well, let's talk about some of the myths surrounding the unhoused, okay?
Yeah.
So myth number 1, true or false, okay? Is this a myth or not? Tahlequah has such great programs and services for the homeless that other cities and counties bus their homeless here and drop them off. True or false?
So I've been working in the streets in Tahlequah since at least 2005, okay? And I can tell you that is absolutely not true.
Okay, so
I don't want to say that. Has there been some town drop someone off here? Maybe, but it's going to be like less than 0.5%.
Okay.
And I don't know where that myth, rumor comes from. I feel like it's part of denial of a human problem, a societal problem. I talk to people that do the similar work all over the United States, all over Oklahoma, and they have the same rumor. And so it's some sort of denial thing that people get into, and it's like, oh, this can't be our problem. These can't be our people from our community. It's got to be someone else. And so that I think as human beings, we want to think, that it's someone else's problem, and it's not our community's problem, and it is. And even if, here's the deal is, even if they are bussed in, it's still a societal problem, and it's still a community problem, and if we're going to have a loving, caring community, then as humans, we still need to, as a good human being, I should say, we should still do something about it.
So I have a feeling if I said we've got a lot of extra wood, should we build the fence higher or should we build the table longer? I think I know your answer.
Okay, say that again.
Build the table longer, right?
Yeah, definitely
sure.
build the table longer.
For sure. Another myth that we have is that, and this one I kind of cringe to say it, but people say a myth for the homeless is that they're there because they want to be.
Yeah, not true.
Absolutely.
Not true at all. I went down yesterday, we had some extra food, and I went through the streets handing out sandwiches. And those people are hungry. They are in need of services. They do not, want to be that way. There are some that we call chronic homeless that may choose to stay in the streets or in the woods or something, but it's really not because. So that I want to be is kind of different. It's because they don't have the skill set, or they may have some social anxiety to be able to come into the shelter and to be able to do things. They may have such huge underlying mental health issues where they have extreme anxiety, depression, and they don't think that they're going to get any help. And so when they come into a shelter or to a facility, they don't have the disposition to follow the rules,
Gotcha.
and so they may choose like this is not for me. I'm better off out in the woods or in the streets, and so I don't think that anyone really chooses to be homeless.
Yeah, that would be a hard choice, wouldn't it? That doesn't, especially in Oklahoma weather.
Yeah.
The extremes. And then the third myth is that they're all alcoholics, and again, they just need to quit drinking.
Okay, so there's a problem with just that question because most alcoholics cannot just quit drinking.
Absolutely.
Because that's a disease, a brain disease. It's addiction, and so I hear that often. And so, there's a high percentage of them that have alcohol and substance abuse issues, but again, it's from underlying issues, and many times we don't know the circumstances of what led someone to be, living in the streets, and typically, in my opinion, the resources in the community aren't set up to help them to get better. A person that's an alcoholic or a drug addict, they develop a disease. They would be like saying, since you have diabetes, you just need to quit having diabetes.
Yeah.
You just need to quit having high blood pressure, right? And so you got to do things to reduce the risk factors associated with that, right? So alcoholism, substance abuse is a disease of the brain. When someone has trauma from childhood or whatever issues, they don't like the way they feel, and so they self-medicate through alcohol and substance abuse, and it helps them cope with whatever's going on inside them, and then over time it changes the brain pathways of how the brain works, and so despite negative consequences they continue to use. And so anyone that says that or believes that or thinks that or is going to have a conversation about that, I would challenge them to go first understand the disease of addiction. An alcoholic, if you're a true alcoholic, you can't just stop drinking. You've got to have help, because if you stop drinking, you're going to go into withdrawals, which can kill you. And so that's something we do see occasionally in communities where alcoholics, living in the streets, run out of alcohol, they go into withdrawal. You might hear a story in the big cities where they found someone in the alley or something like that.
Right.
So just the concept of just quit drinking is troublesome for me. But it's people. Again, if you have another disease, it doesn't tell you just need to quit having that disease.
Right.
So
is your facility set up to assist people with some of these challenges and problems?
Yes, it is. So first, at the men's shelter, despite what many people may think, we do not allow alcohol and drugs in the shelter. We have a new policy when they come in. They have to understand that alcohol or drugs is allowed, and if caught, you will be disciplined. Depending on the situation.
Sure.
We want our shelter to be alcohol and drug free. We have many people in there working on their sobriety and their recovery from alcohol and drugs, and so we can't allow other people to bring it in. Now, does someone bring it in? Yeah, they do. Because they're alcoholics and drug addicts. And so, guess what? Alcoholics and drug addicts use alcohol and drugs. So, when they're caught, we try to get them to treatment or other things. So, we have a grant right now called Building Community of Recovery, and what it provides is it provides us a peer recovery support specialist. So during that assessment phase, if alcohol and substance abuse is an issue, then we will work with them. We put them with a peer recovery coach, which is someone that's in recovery themselves from alcohol and drugs. So there's kind of a coach, and they'll take them to if they want to go to inpatient treatment, then we leverage resources and work with the other agencies that work in the same field. If they need to go to inpatient treatment, we'll help get them to inpatient treatment. If they're in inpatient treatment and they need to come home, we'll go get them. And if they need a place to stay, they can come in and stay with us. Our peer recovery coaches work with them, sort of like a sponsor does in Alcoholics Anonymous, where they teach them to stay sober. So we have this old saying where it's easy to get sober, the hard part is staying sober.
Okay.
And so our peer recovery coaches work with them, and they're working every day. Anybody that has an alcohol and drug problem that comes into the shelter that wants to go to treatment, we get them to treatment right away.
So the purpose really of the shelter is to try to help this individual overcome some of these challenges and get back into the workforce or back in with family members that can assist them and get them off the street, because that's just it's not a healthy situation for them or for the community.
Yeah, we want them to be self-sufficient, and that's the ultimate goal. A lot of times it takes a long time, and so at the shelter we're doing the basic assessment, the basic steps to get them motivated to begin to change, because many times they've had so many disappointments in their lives, and they usually have low self-esteem, and they have low self-efficacy. They don't really believe they have the skills to do anything. They've been beat down, mentally and physically and emotionally. And so we try to provide confidence, and a lot of our early goals is just to help build confidence. And so we provide pretty comprehensive care for people struggling with alcohol and substance abuse disorders.
Okay. And you were mentioning that this fall you've got a couple of outreach programs. What are some of the things that our listeners could possibly donate, or if they want to do a cash donation, where does that money go?
Yeah, so what we're looking at doing this winter, when cold weather comes, everyone gets concerned about the unhoused out in the parks and woods and things, and as we are. A lot of times we only have 12 beds, so there's not enough shelters for them sometimes. So we've always kind of had a informal community outreach where we go out into the streets and we'll feed and do different things like that, and visit with the men and the women in the streets, and so when winter comes, it gets pretty rough for them. So what we want to do is we're trying to have a fundraiser or donations where people can bring us sock hats, warm gloves, socks, blankets, maybe even some sleeping bags, cold weather sleeping bags, and we would even be interested in some tents, like 1 or 2 man tents, because some of those folks aren't going to come in, so we want to make sure that they're not out there freezing. So when someone donates, we have a couple of grants, and those grants allow us to buy certain things, and so we're restricted by grant funding, right? And so we have most of our basic things we need for operational costs down. It's sometimes we'll fall short on meat, and so the money that's donated will go buy fresh meat for the guys, and hygiene items, so we'll use that for that. Sometimes when our shelter is full and we get other people coming in that want to come into a shelter and we don't have the space, we'll use those funds for buying a motel room.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we'll buy them a motel room for 1 or 2 weeks, and with the understanding they still got to do our case planning
Sure.
and everything. So we'll use the funds for that because our grant funds doesn't allow it, and we'll usually buy the men clothes during the holidays. If it's during the holiday season, most of those people don't have family providing them Christmas presents and stuff, and so we'll try to buy them a Christmas meal and a little Christmas present. And so that's what we use our cash donations for.
Okay, okay. And then you had mentioned a hygiene kit. What does that look like?
Yeah, so it's basic, something that you can take in the streets and put these little packets together. And so it'll have like bar soap and a wash rag, some wipes, comb, toothbrush, toothpaste. And then, for the women, maybe some hygiene products, things like that. And then we have outreach workers, and we go out into the streets and give it to them, where if they're not going to be able to come in and into one of the shelters or some other place, they at least have that to stay clean and use, so that's primarily what it is.
Okay. And I think one of the things that people get confused on when it comes to the unhoused or homeless
Yeah.
is that if we choose to just ignore them, the problem is not going to go away. And in fact, it's going to be more of a burden on the community because then the medical issues become quite serious, or maybe that person then chooses to do something that's going to, harm someone, So if we can catch them and help them before it gets to a sense of desperation or a major medical problem, any of those things are going to cost the community way more.
Absolutely, yeah. Those folks may have Hep C, HIV. There are people in the streets that use IV drugs, and so they can be leaving dirty needles around,
Oh my gosh.
which is a topic of another, could be a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just in general, yes, the people that are living on the streets does impact the economy. In regards to the harm reduction, we call it is the Cherokee Nation just recently opened up a harm reduction clinic, and so one of the biggest diseases that people can get who inject drugs is Hep C and HIV. Mm-hmm. So the harm reduction allows you to come in and bring in dirty needles, so you're getting them off the streets. You're getting the dirty needles off the streets. It's a safe place to do it, and they give them clean needles. And then they check them for, if they choose to, they can get tested for Hep C or HIV. So it reduces infection rates by catching it, and then we get them to treatment for that. And so harm reduction is a thing that a lot of people are new to, but it's really just reducing harm of diseases, and it reduces crime, it's something that we have to look at as a community and beginning to understand and how harm reduction can help us in the community, because it does show that when there's a harm reduction services in a community, it reduces the negative impact on the community financially and other.
Yeah. So if it's not just a humane decision that you're wanting to make, if it's more for the community, then that it's been proven that it really does help.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if people wanted to help, the number one easiest way to help is just a cash donation?
Well, each month we people mail us a check, $25, $50, $75 or whatever, and we take that money and it helps. Our staff have grant funding, so any donations we get is going into direct care for the men,
Okay.
or to help with utilities or something like that. And So yeah, the number one way would be to mail us a check, at 118 West Katua, Tahlequah Men's Shelter, 118 West Katua, Tahlequah.
And that's a 503C, so
Yeah,
it's.
it's a 501c3,
okay, so
and they'll receive a
tax
thank you
deductible.
card. It's tax deductible, and that's the easiest way to help us. If they want to drop off, so we always need men's clothes. Okay.
Okay, oh, okay.
But here's the thing that most people don't understand is that we'll get people, to clean out their closets, and I mean, I get it. They want them to go somewhere that's going to be used, but we'll get like extra larges and XX larges pants, and so most of the men that come into the shelter are skinny. Okay, and so we need men's smalls and mediums.
Okay, very valid point. I hadn't thought about that.
And so. So we end up getting a lot of men's clothes that we can't use.
Okay.
So they're like, I'm like, hey, go in there and try those clothes on. They're like, they're all too big. So they're usually like, waistline is usually between like 28 and 34.
Okay, which would make sense because they're malnutrition.
Yeah, they've been
not,
walking the streets and not eating right.
Yeah.
So we can always use men's clothes, but if possible, bring us smaller men's clothes. And if you could literally can just bring those and drop them off on the step, and our manager will get them and cycle them in there. And so I don't want to sound negative about the large size donations, because what we do is we do take those and we'll donate them to another facility that.
Okay. That could utilize them.
Yeah.
Now, my mother travels quite a bit, and she always gets all of the little self-size, from the hotel.
The shampoos and
then she
conditioners.
donates those in her town. Is that something that would be helpful?
Absolutely, yeah. That's how we build our hygiene kits.
Okay.
We just get like the little travel size that you get in the motels nowadays. Even though a lot of motels are now going to the pumps on the wall.
Right, that's true. They're kind of going away. But
I don't know what
if somebody's been hoarding those for a few years, that'd be a great use.
Shampoo, conditioner, hand soaps, toothpaste, toothbrushes.
Okay.
We can always do that. And also one of the items which made me think, is we always need men's underwear and socks and t-shirts.
Okay, and preferably in the smaller sizes if you have them. Okay.
Yeah, and preferably new.
Okay.
But, so I mean, if people want to go out and buy that, not kid sizes, but men's.
Right, sure,
Yeah.
adults. Okay, and then I know we talked a little bit about gloves, hats, blankets.
Gloves, hats, and warm blankets.
And warm blankets. Okay, perfect. And they would just drop them off on the stoop at the shelter.
Yes.
Okay, I think we can help with that for sure. Come on, guys, let's clean out our closets and our spaces. We've got some things that we could help you with for sure.
That'd be great.
Yeah, we will go ahead and put the information in the link below so that anyone who has any questions can reach out. Is there a website that they can go to, or?
We do not have a website right now. We're in the
Okay.
middle of rebuilding and rebranding the men's shelter. So it's, in construction.
Okay, no problem.
But we do have the Facebook page.
Perfect. We
And,
will put
and
the
the Facebook page is, we used to have one for years called Tahlequah Men's Shelter OCO, but we changed it, and it's just OCO Tahlequah Men's Shelter. So I think that's where you contacted me, through the messenger there. So yeah, if you want to go to that Facebook page and check it out.
Okay.
Got information there.
Well, listen, we are just thrilled that you are doing this for the community, because regardless of which side of the fence or line you're on, on your feelings of the unhoused, it is an issue that needs to be dealt with, and ignoring it is not going to fix it.
Yeah.
Correct?
Correct.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a comprehensive problem, and it's going to require a comprehensive solution.
Yeah. We realize it's not going to be something that's fixed overnight.
Correct.
So,
Yes.
well, thank you for coming in. Is there anything else that you would want to share while we've got you here?
No, I think that those are all some really good questions. I just, if anyone ever wants to help us out, you can just contact us on the Facebook Messenger, or if anyone wants to do some community outreach with me, come on down. Then you'll get a better understanding of what these people are facing, and that they're just regular folks that just need a helping hand up.
Okay, so if somebody had a specific skill set that they felt like could be useful, they could reach out and you could chat with them and.
Yeah, any retired social workers or community organizers or anything like that. Or whatever.
Okay, yeah, open for assistance.
Yeah.
Okay, Sam, thank you so much for taking the time to come down and visit with us today, and then again, for everything that you do with the community. It's much appreciated. Guys, as always, please like, follow, and share. And if you have someone that you would like for us to have on the podcast as a guest, please reach out and let us know. We'd be happy to have a chat. Thanks, everyone.